Welcome to Sober Talk. I'm Dennis and I'm an alcoholic. Sober today thanks to Alcoholics Anonymous. If you or anyone you know is struggling with alcohol, please call Alcoholics Anonymous on 1300 222222 or visit their website at aa.org.au. I'll just run through the preamble of Alcoholics Anonymous. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problems and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for a membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. It is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses or opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics achieve sobriety.
Hi, my name's Trish, and I'm a substance abuser. Basically, the main reason I started abusing substances, beginning was mainly alcohol, was to fit in. I grew up, I was a pretty individual person, didn't really have many friends, and I was very envious of the cool people. So I started drinking pretty much regularly when I was 15. It went into drinking at work, and that was when I got my license at 16, and there was never a moment where I wasn't drink driving. I was always the deso drunk driver, which was now I look back, is pretty hard thing. I'm very lucky I didn't kill anyone or kill myself. And then as the years went by, I got addicted to weed and just general stuff. And I went to university after high school and got really hard on the liquor then, and became a regular at the uni bar and my local pub. That was when I was about 17. Got to the point I was that much of a regular at my local pub that when my 18th birthday rolled around, they were that shocked that they'd been serving me for 3 years prior to that, and they couldn't really do anything. But it was pretty horrid. But and then as the years went by, I got into the harder stuff, the methamphetamines. I was pretty bad on that. I was very, very dependent. Didn't really earn that much on Centrelink and work and whatnot, and to afford the drugs. But my housemate at the time was dealing methamphetamines at that time, and I pretty much got into that and got caught by the coppers. Went to court, put myself into DASA detox a few times. Didn't really stick. Always relapse back on the weed. And then my last court case was my sentencing, and it was one of the scariest moments of my life, where I'm standing in the box and the judge is pretty much saying that I'm going to get put away for quite a few years. Because I got done for quite a few assaults, and there was just a few charges on my back, and he pretty much said to me, the only reason you're getting off today is because of that woman in that stand crying, which was my mother. She was the one that saved me that day. And I still didn't learn. Still didn't break the addiction. I still continued to smoke meth, weed, drink. It was just one of those big spirals. I didn't think I was worth it. I didn't have the friends around anymore because I didn't have the access to the drugs. But I still found means to get it. And used to steal, lie, cheat, all the usual things that addicts do. I was one of those people that no one could ever trust. I couldn't even trust myself. I was a compulsive liar. I started believing the lies that I was saying. And even to today, I start telling the story to someone and I'm like, oh no, wait, I've got to step back and tell the truth of that story, because I'm still reminiscing and trying to remember what I did. And it's just a vicious cycle, basically. And found these rooms quite a few years ago. I think it was in 2019 when I first entered these rooms at Elizabeth East Home Group. Was off the weed for a bit, but I got back onto it, and I was still going to meetings while I was still using, but then I just didn't see the point if I was still using. I didn't get it. The meaning of AA didn't really kick in at that time, so I just continued on my own, and I was in a relationship that was rather violent and mentally abusive. And that was about 6-7 years ago now, and I still got quite a lot of post-traumatic stress from that relationship and all my past relationships where I was pretty much treated like a doormat. And now I am with someone who I recently have just married on Saturday just gone, and we both got clean together 2 years ago on September the 23rd. That pretty much happened and after just continuous marijuana abuse. I quit methamphetamines over 10 years ago, and I kicked that out of the way, and haven't really been a solid drinker for a good 10-12 years now. So it was mainly the marijuana that was kicking me up, and the demon was winning. And then my brother and my sister-in-law sat us down. This is when not long after me and my partner were made homeless and were living in my mum's shed. Just the fact of being homeless again at the age of, I think I was 30, at that 30. So 4 years ago. And it just brought back a lot of past things that have happened. I've been homeless through addiction and pretty much nowhere to live. But I had a job. I always pretty much had a job half the time. And then my brother and sister-in-law sat us down and basically said, we've bought a house, do you want to move into it? And we were like, yes, took that opportunity up. No, still using. I was, at that time, I was working at a recycling company as a truck driver. That was a pretty toxic environment. Pretty much all the boys that worked there smoked weed. And I pretty much had a bong in my work locker and would come back from a run and smoke and all that, and then had another intervention from the family. They were worried and extremely worried about how much money we were spending. They sat down and actually put a pen to paper and so I could visualize how much I was actually spending, and I was spending almost double what I was earning on just marijuana. I wasn't eating properly. As long as my animals were fed, I didn't really care. I was eating the bare minimum. But it was just one of those things, if I lost my license, there's my livelihood, there's the roof over my head gone. But that's one thing I always kept from my addiction years, was the roof over my head. And except for the times where I got kicked out of my mother's house, it was very brief homelessness, but if I ever did ever have a home where rent was due, that was always paid. It got to the point where I gave my mum my bank card and access to my bank. So if I was renting, she was able to pay my rent before I even touched my money. But now I'm 34 and 2 years clean, just gone on September the 23rd, which is I can solidly say, the longest I've ever been sober since I picked up a substance. And I have quite a few friends from high school as well as through my addiction days that are sober as well. and it's a different lifestyle. I'm still getting used to it. I've now got a job at BOC Gases. I'm a truck driver for them, delivering some gas cylinders and all that kind of stuff. And I only applied for that because my doctor actually rang me and said that my drug test came back clean. So I was like, yes, I can apply for jobs that require a drug test. Because I had that solid time where I would have a drug test and I knew I was going to fail, 100% knew I was going to fail. And that was mainly from my corrections, from my convictions that I got done with. But now, solidly working for BOC Gases for over a year and a half now, and had multiple drug tests where I'm like, yep, let me do what I need to get this test away and pass. It's a surreal feeling knowing that if I'm going to take a test and I'm going to pass, it's a strong proudness feeling that I have inside that, I've finally done it. But, there's never that promise in the future that I'll never go back. It's why it's always one day at a time, as all the old timers say, and I'm starting to just start saying as well, so, and as they always say, you got to keep coming back, and it's just one of those things. I have all my AA friends, I've got more AA friends than I actually do have normal friends, and that are like my family. And half of my guests for my wedding were my AA friends and all the old timers that were there. So there's just no proof that they've made a massive impact on my life. And, I don't ever want to go back. I can't make that promise that I never will, but I've got the means and the tools to continue being sober. And as long as I go to sleep sober, I'm waking up sober. It's a lot easier, especially my partner was got sober with me as well. And the only way I could really get sober was we went interstate for a holiday in Sydney, because I knew if I went on a holiday in Adelaide, it wouldn't be long until I went somewhere to find something. At least if I'm in a different state, I don't know where anything is. So that was a big achievement on both our behalves, and just the will to want to be normal in some form of way. But us ex-addicts and recovering addicts we're never normal. We're always that weird bunch. But I'm just glad to finally have a relationship with my parents again. As I've always said, my dad has been saying that when I come round lately, it's not just because I want something. I just want to go around there to see him and have a chat. And my mother's my best friend again. I'm 100% honest with them, my family, everyone. And being in a relationship with someone that's going through the same direction and the same recovery road that I am is a big encouragement, and it really helps having someone that understands what I'm going through on a day-to-day basis. I wake up, she's there. I come home, she's there. It's an amazing feeling, and she knows that I'm always there for her as well. I'm her biggest fan, and she's my biggest fan. Um, so it's a great feeling just being sober and sending out the message to people who are struggling. Every time I get a chance to talk to someone, one of my mates who think they're struggling, I always let them know, the number, is the AA is whatnot, and we're always here whenever you need us, when you're ready, because you can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped. And at that time, I did want to be helped by my family. They knew I was struggling just to buy food, or borrowing money to get smokes, as I said, but knew exactly what it was going to. Half my money was going to tick. And there's my pay gone, and oh shit, I've got to have money for the next fortnight. But it's a good feeling. I got money in the bank. I'm like, a bill comes up, I'm in credit in all my bills. It's a surreal feeling being sober. I'm still in my early days. I'm still young. I'm only 2, so there's a lot of old timers out there that have been own 20, 30, 40 years, and it's a real inspiration that there is a massive hope for a great future, and I wouldn't be in for a great future if I was still using. It's just surreal that you drop one thing and there's endless possibilities on the other side. It's just a extremely great feeling, and yeah.
How did you go with the God part of Trish?
The what? Sorry.
The God part.
See, it never really bothered me. Like, I'm not a big believer in God, but I do believe in guardian angels and things that are always there to help you out. I went to a psychic quite a few years ago, and he basically explained a presence that was my brother, who was my mother's firstborn, still was a stillborn. And so I've always seen him as a guardian angel of mine. I've never had a really big problem with people who believe in God. It's just don't try and make me believe in what they believe in. But yeah, I do believe in a higher power, that there is something out there that is guiding us and protecting us. And there was many a times throughout my addiction days where I can 100% say that my higher power was definitely looking after me, and is saying to the earth and the world that no, they're not ready yet. That they've got to keep going. They've got something to prove and something to do. So the God side and the religious side's never really fazed me. It's to people's interpretation. Of exactly what is said. So I'm not really hot phased about that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just some people just bring it up because some people have a problem, and
There's a lot of people out there that as soon as that word God is said, it's like, and I'm no part of that. But with the promises and the 12 steps, and the serenity prayer, you can pretty much be praying to a chair, because it's doing its job. The earth. There's plenty of things out there that people use as higher powers that has got nothing to do with a religious side. So it's just one of those things. It's everyone's each to their own.
very good. Yeah, certainly that's the right attitude to have rather than try and fight any of it, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's the only way to let go, and because you've got to let go of all that anger towards any form of religion, because it really isn't. It's more of a spiritual program than it is a religious. The way I've always seen and heard and always portrayed in my sobriety that there's always something out there. I do my prayers every day. I always praying to the world and praying for my family. It's not to God, it's to pretty much whatever's up there that wants to protect us. That's what I'm praying to.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Yeah. Well, thanks very much for your share.
That's all good. When's it going to be aired?
I will inform you. AA has more than 2 million recovering alcoholics throughout the world. In Australia, there are about 18,000 members. They meet in over 2,000 local meetings spread around the country. Meetings range in size from a handful in some areas to hundreds or more in larger communities. And once again, if anyone you know is struggling with alcohol issues, please call Alcoholics Anonymous in 1300 222222 or visit their website on aa.org.au.